To all the parents out there, you have far more influence over your children than you believe. Use your influence wisely, use your influence well.
Hey everyone, my name is Kareema Bee. I am the senior video producer for Kindred. This next guest is an award-winning actress who has been gracing the stage and our screens for a very long time. You might have seen her in Sister Act 2. You might have seen her in Moesha. Real ones know she is the original Adina, the original dream girl. And today she is one of the stars in America's new favorite TV show, Abbott Elementary, created by Quinta Brunson that you can watch on ABC. Please welcome the legendary Sheryl Lee Ralph.
Well, thank you. That was a wonderful introduction.
Let's start with, can you tell us what brought you to Abbott Elementary and what you love about your role as Barbara Howard?
It would be the script that Quinta Brunson sent to me, asked me to read it. Once I read it, I was like, wow, now this is nice. Here it is, a series about education where the teachers are not the butt of the joke, where the teachers are literally the heart of the story. I loved that. And then, of course, I just fell in love with Quinta, love Quinta, and it all just went from there. I said yes. We started shooting a pilot, and we were very sure we had something special. We had no idea it was going to be as special as it's becoming right now.
Oh, it's very special, and it's doing so well. Got 100% score on Rotten Tomatoes, which like never happens. I'm sure people have reminded y'all of that. And I'm sure it's going to sweep at the Emmys. What does it mean to you to have this moment now? Because you've been doing this for so long, and you've endured so much. You've persevered. What does it mean to you?
You know, I think that some people endure. I think that some people persevere. I think that some people never quit. I think that some people never give up. I'm one of those people. I love what I do. I love it so much, I would do it for free. I'm glad I don't have to.
I was like, don't do it for free, Michelle.
Thank you. I'm glad I don't have to.
Yeah.
But I love what I do. For me, it's not work. I get to have that teacher's calling. I am meant to be doing what it is I'm doing. Mm-hmm. And I love it. The fact that I have been able to hang in there, to now be at this time in this place in a series like Abbott Elementary, created by a brilliant young woman, brilliant young Black woman like Quinta Brunson, it makes everything I have endured worth it to see her at that place. I think when you build roads and you do some heavy busting of rocks, you want to be able to stand and watch people walk down a great road, cars drive down a smooth road, and feel good about what you did. So what does it mean for me? It means that I did exactly what I was supposed to do, and I'm still happy.
You mentioned several people in your family who are teachers, and you grew up around educators. Is there anyone in particular that stands out that had a significant impact in your life, like a favorite teacher you might have had growing up, or someone in your family?
You know, I'm very strange. I would say that there were teachers that were difficult. There were teachers that were frustrated themselves. And I actually remember a lot of them much better. You know, I'll never forget, his name was Mr. Scroggins. He was a science teacher. And he was just so sure that girls should never be in pants. Mm-hmm. We're talking about the 70s now.
Mm-hmm. With a name like Scroggins.
They shouldn't be in pants. And it would be the dead of winter. He didn't want to see you walk to school in pants. He's a science teacher. And he was very difficult. And I remember, because he was difficult, I learned how to stand up for myself. I learned that in cases like that, sometimes you have to take action. So I'm in junior high school, and I wrote a letter to the regent of New York. And I said that it's cold. It's a very cold winter. And the fact that they will not allow girls to cover themselves, to be warm, to get to school is inhuman. And I'm a kid, but that teacher taught me to stand up for myself. And we got to at least be able to wear pants to school so we weren't freezing because somebody thought we should not be seen in pants. I learned from Mr. Martindale and Mr. Slomak. They all thought that I could be president of the United States, but they really, really thought that I should be on the Broadway stage. And when I got there, they came to see me and they were so proud. Mother St. Peter Mora.
With a name like that, tell me what she did for you. Tell me what she
Mother
did.
St. Peter Mora, Notre Dame Academy for Young Women. Oh my God, this is now the late 60s. And my parents decided that I'm going to the best school in the city, which has no Black girls. It's an all girls school, no Black girls. But I take a test and I pass the test. No more concrete playgrounds for me. I'm going where the grass is and the swings swing. Notre Dame Academy. Mother St. Peter Mora just didn't understand why they had to have Black children considered for this school. And this young nun gave me hell in stories that still hurt to this day. But years later, one day, I just happened to be at the square, and that nun with her piercing blue eyes, I passed her and she apologized to me. God had my back.
Oh, yes, he did. And it seems almost like he prepared you to be in this industry.
Oh, yeah. Oh, yeah. Now that you say that, absolutely.
That's right. And look at the role that you're playing now. What have you learned, I guess, about yourself or even teachers playing a teacher, having gone through this kind of experience with educators? What have you learned?
So many teachers in America are in a very difficult situation. Yes, there are a lot of great schools. There are a lot of schools well funded where teachers get the pay that they deserve. But there are a growing number of too many schools in America that are underfunded, where teachers are not getting the support that they deserve from anybody, parents included. And they just are in need of so much more to give the hearts and minds of America's children the start that they deserve to be the greatest that they can be. When we don't take care of children, we are missing out on the possible cure for cancer. We're missing out on that mind that could help us solve hunger issues, food shortages in the world, when we don't take care of all students. When we look at some students and say, oh, no, they only need to be burger flippers. There's nothing wrong with a burger flipper, but don't look at that school over there and say, no, all of them go to burger school.
That's right.
This school over here, no, they all go to med school and dental school and all of that. They discover free enterprise.
Can you talk about the role that education played in your house with your children and how that was similar to how you were raised?
There's never a choice. It's education, education, education. Everybody's going to college. Everybody's graduating from college. That's what we do. So it's not like, oh, I'm going to take a gap year. No, if you take a gap year, you go help at a school in some other country, and then you come back and you go to school, but it's always about getting the education. There's something that I learned, though. One school might not fit all of your children. And I learned very early that the school that was good for my son was not the school that was good for my daughter. And I had to find the right environment for both of them to make themselves their best selves, and that can be hard. School can be challenging. School can be very expensive, very expensive. I live in an incredible part of my city of Los Angeles, but I don't have a great school in my neighborhood. that becomes very expensive.
Did you find also in parenting them through their education that it was also different experiences? And what I mean by that is I also have a brother, and the way I was in school and the way my brother was in school was completely different for my mom. And so she was like, wait a minute. And she had to completely mother us differently in order for both of us to end up successful. So I don't know if you had to cross that bridge too.
Absolutely. You know, boys are definitely different than girls. They see things differently. They act differently. They understand things differently. Whereas my daughter might sit down to take the time to make a list and get things done in a timely manner. My son might wait till the last minute. So there was always trying to deal with, okay, the pros and the cons of all of these things for them and to make it work. Also, while I'm working, and that was at times difficult. That was a lot, you know, being able to make sure that they had the support that they needed. Extra classes, it's not easy.
So with that, it not being easy, what encouragement do you have to offer to mothers right now who might have, children in school and trying to figure it out?
You have far more influence over your children than you believe. Use your influence wisely, use your influence well, and be that parent who figures it out, because they're watching you. They are watching us. And sometimes we have to rise to the occasion of our own position as parent. We are the boss. We are the ones that make things happen. Sometimes I know it's heavy. Sometimes I know it's difficult, but it's got to be done for the sake of our children. And sometimes it's not just your child. Sometimes it might be another child as well, because there are a lot of parents who parent their own child and end up parenting other children because other children need it too.
And what I love about that, just what speaks to Kindred and us being a digital proverbial village, that's what we care about, right? And those are the things that mean a lot to us, because we realize that it takes a village to raise a child. It takes, it's not just the people who give birth to us. If you were in the school system for real, what kind of role do you think you would have had, or what kind of job do you think you would have had? Do you think you would have been a teacher, a principal?
Definitely would have been a principal. And I probably would have taken the next step that my Auntie Carolyn just didn't want to take. And that was to run for superintendent. I think that it is very important to have people that know education, that understand the student, parent, teacher relationship, that understands what goes on within school walls. They've got to know what that is about. If there's some cities where they cannot get their graduation in high school past 50% because somebody's not doing something correctly, because there is not a will to get right down to the nitty-gritty to figure out what needs to change, what needs to be done in order for us as a city, as a community, to graduate young people from high school.
We know that it's a different experience in the classroom right now. The profile of a teacher has certainly is not the same. As a teacher, you're not just, explaining arithmetic. You're not just playing a second parent or a counselor now. You're expected to be a security guard armed with weapons in the event something may actually happen, which it has, and people are scared. Children are uncomfortable in a learning environment. So I'm curious to know for you what you feel about it in general and how much you carry that psychology playing Barbara Howard in the show.
I remember very clearly in the 70s, high school, and they bought the first police officers on the high school campus. That changed everything for us. We felt like we were being policed. I left before the metal detectors were put in. You felt like you were being prepped for what? Prison? You felt like people didn't trust you. That made me feel very uncomfortable. So now when I see young people going to schools that are all locked up, that are all barred up, that are all metal detectored, that are all security guards. And those schools do exist. A lot of people don't know those schools exist just like that. It's not a good feeling. It's not really a great learning environment. Children are impacted by what they see, by what they feel, by what they hear. So I really want people to think twice before they start saying things like, we need to put guns in the hands of teachers to protect students. We have to really rethink about what is important. We have to rethink our humanity. We have to rethink what it is we want for our children. This is a very difficult time for children at many different ages, having had to come through COVID, having not been socialized the way they might have been without COVID, not having the camaraderie of their friends at different stages of their growing up in school, their parties, their coming out, their proms, their coming together to learn, different words and such to prepare for tests, to move on up a little higher. They're missing out on a lot of this. And now you want to tell them that now we must protect ourselves with guns. Something's gone wrong in our heads. Our psyche's messed up. We need to rethink our humanity and who we are. Because these children are like the closest thing you can get to a blessing from God.
Mm-hmm. And they are the future. So imagine how this is impacting our future leaders, right? Our future thinkers.
It's a fact. Exactly. I think of being young. I think of coming through the 60s. I think of seeing horrible images. In my childhood, when I have to think about them, I remember what it did to my brain. I think about what's going on in these kids' brains now.
How do you think schools should think about or prioritize mental health as part of curriculum for our youth?
The youngest of the baby boomers, we experienced something different in school. You would go to school and they would check up everything. At the beginning of the year, they would check up on your eyes, they would check up on your ears, they would check up on your overall health. You had to have these cards, you had to be up on your vaccines, and all of these things. Reports were sent back to your parents, on things that they needed to do. November would come around and the schools were open for parents to come in to vote, and you would get, you would welcome your parent at the school and you would learn what it was like to vote. So there was a whole thing put in place for you to start becoming a part of society. We've taken that away. When I tell you, as a young person, I had all of those different resources there. You had a counselor. There was a counselor there. If you weren't feeling good, you went to talk to somebody.
To tie it all back in now to Abbott Elementary and the importance of showing a school that is underfunded and how the teachers work together to create this community for these students. If you can, just elaborate on that, why this show is necessary right now.
This show at this time, with those characters and those people caring for those students who have been in some ways marginalized, set aside, not given the tools that they need to thrive and survive. In that pilot episode where Quinta's character opens up the book and says there have been 3 different presidents since this book was printed, and I've tried to fill them in for you. And she's literally had to cut out and put the pictures of the presidents in the book. I have to tell you, that is not a joke. That is real. That happens. That school where that happened is real. The books are 10 years old, and that is America education. So I'm very happy that there is Quinta Brunson, who sat at her mother's knee in kindergarten, stayed with her mom in school for 5 years, and had us a story to tell that is Abbott Elementary. and it is so perfect. I am so proud and so happy to be playing Barbara Howard, because Barbara Howard, as a teacher, has been in the community for years,
Right.
doing the hard work and the heavy lifting and believing in some people's children when they didn't even believe in them themselves. And she helped that child discover what is wonderful about them in kindergarten so that they can survive and thrive and see their way to graduate school or a PhD if that's what they want, or raise a healthy, happy family. I am just so proud to see Barbara Howard living and breathing on TV and getting her flowers.